Welcome to the Ponder on That podcast, where we talk about mental health, our goals, self-confidence, self-love, and many more various topics. In every episode, we will be giving advice that we can apply practically in our everyday lives. I'm Saffron King. Let's begin. Hi guys, so we're here on Ponder on That podcast with Saffron King. We're here with the amazing Colette Johnson, who is an entrepreneur and a business strategy manager at NBCU. And we're just going to go into it, Colette. So tell us about yourself, like who is Colette Johnson?
Wow. Sometimes I don't know who I am. I'm Colette. I am 29 years old, almost 30. I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I work at NBCUniversal, doing marketing as well as starting the PS Collective.
Fantastic. So you mentioned the PS Collective. Can you tell us more about that and what made you start it?
Yeah, sure. So the PS Collective is actually an online marketplace that is geared to help women find clothing that fits and flatters their figure. And we use machine learning and artificial intelligence to be able to understand and extract women's measurements to be able to better provide them with options that will fit them.
Wow. And how long has this been active for?
We really thought of the idea in late 2018, early 2019. And I found a co-founder. Her name's Francesca Donadoni. We met in New York, but she actually, since COVID, has been in London working. So we work across the pond.
That's fantastic. And I think it's good to have people who, especially in this day and age where a lot of things are virtual, it's nice to have someone who is in a different part of the world. I feel like you can reach a larger set of people as well. I mean, do you find where do a lot of your supporters reside? Like, do you have more in America or more in the UK, Europe?
So that's a really fascinating question. And I think to your point, COVID has allowed us to communicate better with people wherever they are. And we actually, as much as we have followers in America, we also have a lot of followers in Europe. Some of our designers are from Europe. So we have 32 designers, 33 designers right now who are going to be on the marketplace. And about a quarter of them come from elsewhere outside of the US. We have people in Canada, Germany, Paris, London, and Australia. Yeah.
Wow, Australia. That's
Yes,
amazing. I've
I
always wanted to
know.
go to Australia.
It's a little difficult with the time zones, honestly. But we make it work.
And in terms of like your supporters, do you like get to speak to them? Like, is it quite an intimate relationship you have with them? Like, or is it like all via social media commenting?
So it's very much social media driven, trying to build up a following on Instagram, as well as Facebook, all of the typical social media websites. What I have realized that actually has surprised me is that a lot of the designers that we bring on board and a lot of just people that I've been meeting along my journey, it's opened me up to so many like very powerful, inspirational women who are also fighting for equity and equality as it pertains to just fashion, but also how people feel about themselves and their own skin.
Absolutely. And I think in this day and age, it's so hard to be comfortable or content in your own skin. So would you say there's a difference between being comfortable in your skin and being confident with your fashion, with your body?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it is a fine line, but I think comfortability insinuates that you're living with it. confidence really exudes a different level of energy that you're putting yourself, out and putting yourself out into the world with, right? And I could say the same thing, right? I felt very uncomfortable. I had to go to a wedding recently and I didn't know what to wear. I didn't have anything to wear. A lot of the things that I was putting on weren't fitting me because during COVID, I gained weight.
Yeah.
And, you know, my experience, I've already, like, one of the reasons for starting the PS Collective was very selfish. It was because I didn't like my own shopping experiences online. But now it's even worse because I don't know what my true size is. A lot of the clothes that are in my closet wasn't fitting me. And I was going into the stores and trying things on and looking in the mirror, and it just was not a good environment. And I don't want people to feel that way. I don't want people to try on a bunch of clothes that they think are their size, only to be told that their body doesn't fit into this particular size. Because sizing is arbitrary, it doesn't really mean anything. And it's different from store to store, even within the same store. And so I think, that's a small example of how it has recently affected me. But there's some people where this affects them all the time. Like, this is their reality of being put into boxes and being told you have to shop in a different section of the store. You can't shop at this store because we only do one size fits all. Like, stuff like that, that people don't realize. They think, when they hear the word fashion, that it's not, there's no depth to it.
Yes.
And it's very superficial, but that's simply not true, because if that were the reality, then everyone could just walk around naked all the time.
Absolutely.
We need clothes. We need clothes. That's just the nature of the world that we live in. And for something that really is just another layer of who you are, if you are constantly being told you can't wear this or you can't be fit into this, then eventually it's going to get into your head where I'm not comfortable. I'm just doing this because I have to.
Absolutely, Claire. And I would agree with you there where you said, in different stores you can be different sizes. So in a sense, it's kind of like, what size am I? And I think a lot of people do, identify with their body size, identify with their fashion sense as well. I mean, recently, during lockdown, I've put on weight as well, but more so I have love handles. So someone close to me had said to me, "Oh, you should wear like a girdle to hide it." And I'm thinking in my mind, why do we feel we have to hide certain traits of our body that we feel, okay, maybe this could be hidden or this isn't working out with certain clothes? I think it's not making ourselves kind of hide away from the truth, really. And I mean, would you say that people can identify with, or their identity can be hidden in fashion, in their bodies, as well as other things like mental health?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there's actually studies that have been done that prove that ill-fitting clothing, or the way that you wear your clothing, is indicative of how you feel. If you are wearing baggier clothing, you're trying to cover yourself up, it's saying that you aren't comfortable in your own skin, and you're really, what you're saying, trying to hide your body or hide imperfections. But the reality is nobody's perfect. And I know, as cliche as that sounds, it's the truth. Actually, more people are imperfect than fitting into the norms. And that's the thing that these larger companies either don't understand or they don't care. And I think one of the things that recently upset me was this whole Victoria's Secret rebranding into VS Collective, which is not only one letter off from the PS Collective, but also trying to rebrand themselves into, you know, uh, lingerie and bras that are made for every type of woman, which for so long, they were the opposite of that. You know, they were this idea of being an angel, being perfect with, you know, big, perfect boobs. That's just not reality.
And you know, when you look at the Photoshop that people go into to make these advertisements, especially if you're in marketing, so you understand that, you know, there's this kind of, like you said, perfection that people feel they have to be or have to do. And like you said, I think that most of us are imperfect and perfect according to society's standard of what perfection is. How do you think we can be more comfortable and confident in our own bodies and skin?
Well, I think there's a few ways, right? I think putting yourself in environments where and surrounding yourself with people who push you to be comfortable in your own skin. You know, if you're put in environments where you're constantly being judged or you feel like you need to fit a certain standard, then you're going to try and fit yourself into that standard. But I think what I love about younger generations is that there is no retrofitting yourself into or trying to, you know, fit into certain stereotypes or boxes. It's being confident enough to voice your differences and highlight, but also embrace other people's differences rather than trying to subdue them. I always use the example of when I was younger in school, and you know, my mom would, you know, make a, let's say she made oxtail or something for dinner. I would never want to bring that to school. I never wanted to share that, like, I would be eating certain dishes that were different from what my other peers were eating. So I tried to blend in. I would buy lunch and have pizza or sandwiches or whatever. But now I love, you know, introducing my friends to different types of cuisine and trying, you know, oxtail for the first time. Like, that stuff is exciting to me because I'm proud of where I come from and who I am. And I think that's the difference. A lot of these companies, these larger companies, are still set in their ways. And if we take a moment to talk about the history of the sizing structure and where standard sizing comes from, it really dates back to the 1940s.
Oh, wow.
Even earlier than that, honestly. 1930s is when the universal sizing system was first created. You know, clothes before then were made tailored. You would go to a tailor and have your clothing made specifically for your body type. But after they figured out, like, what are the average body types, they basically took a average of what the American woman looked like, which I can tell you, the American woman has changed a lot since the 1940s. You know, back then they were predominantly white and size 2 to 6. And now, you know, a majority of women in America are size 14 or larger. But still, there's only 2% of that inventory found in stores. So already there's this big divide of the industry saying, well, you don't matter. And, like, figure it out. You find, like, it's cheaper for me to make, you know, smaller clothes, so I'm going to charge you more for the clothes that you buy that are plus size. Also, the term plus size, like, why do we even have that? It's a good thing to mention that it's not just plus size. It's every difference of people who struggle to find clothing that fits their body. You have people who are too tall. You have people who are petite. You know, you have people who might have longer torsos or, you know, bigger thighs and smaller hips. There's so many different combinations of body type that you can't just focus on standards because there's no norms these days. Everyone is different.
Yes.
And it is frustrating, especially buying clothes online, if you're trying to figure out, well, is this going to fit me? I don't have time for returns. Like, it's just too much of a game that some people just don't have the time for.
Exactly. And you know, there's so much times when I have ordered something online and it's the size that I usually am, but actually I've tried it on, it's either too big or too small. And it do, I mean, for me in my journey, it has made me question myself, like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Is it me? But actually, you know, you're right, we're all unique in different sizes. I mean, have you had anyone kind of give you any comments about like PS Collective, like in terms of them saying, you know, it's great what you're doing. I feel like, you know, this whole size issue, fashion, being confident in yourself, it there's been a gap in the market basically.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people all the time, first of all, on the designer side, they're
Mm,
like, we need you. We
wow.
need PS Collective
Yes.
because returns hurt their business significantly. You
Mm,
know, these are small and mid-sized businesses where
mm,
returns are a lot harder for them to bake in than for these larger companies who can just, you know,
mm,
write it in and it's not as big of a deal to them.
mm,
So that's on one side. The
mm,
designers, they really want, you know, for
mm,
these
mm.
systems to be in place and something
Yeah.
that's going to not only eliminate returns but increase loyalty. So on the consumer side,
Mm,
I talk to people all the time who are like, especially in the petite community, I've been having a lot of conversations where, you know, they think it's on them, you
mm,
know,
mm,
it's their fault.
mm.
And I was in a room,
Wow, that's interesting.
I was in a clubhouse recently, and you know, on stage, it was a petite fashion room, and on stage were a lot of designers working for like bigger companies. And what I kept hearing was like, as a petite woman, you know, you just need to know your measurements and like buy according to your measurements, you know, take your clothes to get tailored. That's expensive.
Very expensive.
And why are we passing that off onto the consumer?
Mm-hmm.
Why does the consumer have to do all of the work? Then,
Mm,
on top of that, someone was talking about how they look at their returns within the larger organization and they use it to influence further production, which
mm.
debatable on whether that's true or not. But she, the host of the room was like, "Oh, you're right. Like usually when I return things, I'm just kind of annoyed that I have to do the returns. I have to go through the process. So I usually just don't take a lot of time to put why this thing didn't fit me correctly."
Yeah. Mm,
And she's like, "You're right. Like I need to be doing a better job. I need to take more time to give detail behind why I'm returning something."
mm,
And in my head, and I told her this afterwards, I was like, absolutely not. This isn't,
true.
again, this is another scenario of
Mm.
you apologizing for something that wasn't your fault.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Like,
Mm,
why are we constantly letting these companies slide by
mm,
and provide, you know, things that are easy for them because, you know, they can create them in bulk rather than actually paying attention to me and my body?
yeah.
It's very retro, like clothing should not be retroactively trying to fit
Mm,
what like a body.
Mm-hmm.
It should be creating something with a body in mind for that specific person.
Wow, that's very profound what you've just said. So instead of, us trying to fit ourselves for that particular outfit, it's the outfit that should actually fit us, be tailored to us in, various ways. I think I've never actually heard that before. Going into stores, going online, there's a kind of guilt when when you go to the sizing, there's this, I don't know, it's for me, it's like a semi-daunting experience when it comes to the sizing, because you feel like, okay, if this doesn't fit, then, oh, I should have been careful, or I should have been more accurate in my measurements. So in saying this, would you say there's any companies out there that are doing a better job to do that?
Definitely. I mean, there's tons of companies who are deploying and using technology to be able to better assess sizing, as well as like customer feedback. Mm-hmm. So ASOS, for example, does this pretty well, where they, will ask you questions about like clothing that fits you right, as well as how do you like your clothes to fit, and they rely heavily on the input of their consumers to say, oh, this runs tight or this runs too large. And so they use that kind of recommendation system throughout their website after getting to know you, your likes, your dislikes, etc. And I think there's a few companies heading in that direction, or trying to do a good job. Like Levi's also is trying to get better with fit and creating custom-made jeans. So there are movements in that direction, but it's not fast enough. The movements aren't fast enough. There's this preconceived notion that mass-produced items are cheaper to make than creating, individual pieces for different people. But there's also like, not only is there economic benefits, but there's benefits to the ecosystem. It's a lot more sustainable to create clothing based on a person and based on demand than creating a bunch of clothes that you hope people are going to buy, but a lot of the times just ends up in landfills.
So yeah, that's why it's important for, businesses like yourself, PS Collective, you guys doing what you're doing to help, people feel more confident and more comfortable in their skin. I think it's very commendable, Colette. Absolutely.
Thanks.
I'll tell you, keep going.
We're trying.
Absolutely. And where can people find you? Do you have like the handle?
Yeah.
Go
yeah,
on.
So we're pretty much on everything. Instagram is probably the best place to find us, which it's PS Collective NYC.
Okay.
And then we also have a website, which is pscollective.com. And I think those would probably be the best places to find us right now, but we're really trying to build up our presence in more communities.
Absolutely. And you've already set yourself up well, because I've seen you on socials, Instagram, LinkedIn, your website. I was actually doing some of the questions because I think there was like a questionnaire at the beginning.
Yes, on the website. Yeah.
Yes. And I do like how it's tailored, and I think a lot of people will enjoy answering those questions, because I don't even know what size my waist is. So for me, I was like, oh my gosh, how well do I know myself? So yeah, I think it's good for even people to get to know themselves more, in it.
And just be able to shop on a community that sees them for who they are and is recommending. Like, they always advise against creating something for everyone, because then you're creating something for no one. And that isn't really the goal of the PS Collective. We do want to help women, and our technology is enabling us to curate clothing based on your sizes and your likes and your dislikes. So we are hopefully going to be a community where people can come and feel welcome, no matter what their differences are.
Absolutely, Colette. And it's needed because there's so much people who aren't happy with how they look, how they are, or don't feel welcomed in a community, and it can affect people's mental health. Because we're in a time now where a lot of people are speaking about mental health. And it does cover all areas. It's not just emotionally or work stuff going on. It can be as well how your body is. I mean, there's a lot of things going around about body dysformia. I forgot. I don't know if I've pronounced it right, but
Dysmorphia.
dysmorphia. Thank you, Colette. So
You're
it's like,
welcome.
so is that where what you see in the mirror is different to what other people see?
Yeah, and I think it's also there's a few ways that comes to life. Like, even I've heard some interesting conversation around Snapchat filters and Instagram filters and how it's changing how kids are seeing themselves and putting themselves out there. And it obviously is not a realistic image of who that person is. You know, even as myself using those filters, I would prefer to post a picture with a filter than not,
Yeah.
because it smooths out my imperfections,
Yes.
and impurities. And I think there's underlying, I guess, things that have to be looked into when talking about body dysmorphia and seeing yourself in a different way.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think the onus is on larger, like, influencers and companies to put forth a realistic image of who people are. If you keep putting out photos of women that were airbrushed and cropped and just manipulated without telling people it was manipulated, people will think that that's the real image of that person when it's not.
Absolutely. And what you're saying is so powerful, Colette, because when you bring in social media, I've even seen filters called beauty face filter, and it literally just, I feel like for me it makes me look like a completely different person, takes away
Yeah.
spots that I have, like you said, impurities. And I must say, in terms of like celebrities wise, because celebrities have such a big influence on people's images, I would say that I love how Alicia Keys, she's very, especially now, she's very natural in how she looks, and she'll even say it to people, not that she's against makeup, but that she doesn't want to cover up anymore,
Yeah.
and I think it's a journey for her, and it's beautiful to see that, because then women can look at her and think, I actually can be natural in myself.
Totally.
But
But I think that's a good point. And I think one of the other, examples that I can bring forth, I was looking for a makeup artist to work with for a photo shoot. And I came across this company called Beauty Marks. And, I met the founder. She's here in Brooklyn as well.
Hey.
And she was telling me kind of the history of why she started Beauty Marks and what the meaning behind it is. And it actually was pretty profound and awesome. So she was getting married, I think 5 years ago, and she couldn't find, or maybe it was 10 years ago. I'm getting the timeline mixed up, but she was getting married and she was looking for a makeup artist for herself. And it was a really tough process because everyone was like, the style was just plastering on makeup and a red lip and calling it a day. And she didn't want that. She didn't want to lose herself. And what she realized is every person she would go to, when they would do the tutorial or show like a sample, her beauty marks would be gone. And they put on so much makeup that it would cover her
beauty marks,
impurities, or her beauty. Yeah, her beauty marks. And so that was the beginning of her company, Beauty Marks, because she didn't want to erase what made people unique. And I thought that was beautiful. And I never thought of it that way because I mean, I have a mole or a beauty mark
A
right here.
beauty mark, yes.
Yes. And I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. But yeah, makeup sometimes covers it up, and it's interesting to think about that. But there is an increase in natural makeup and the whole natural style. So I think that's for the better.
And you know, it's interesting you say that because I've got a beauty spot or beauty mark there, and I've been through a few makeup artists, and I can say there's only really one who, when she did my makeup, she said she doesn't want to really cover up that beauty spot. She wanted to kind of enhance it, and everybody else, it was gone. And look at the irony. I think makeup's meant to enhance your beauty, it's not meant to cover up. But we have these beauty spots, beauty marks, moles, however you like, birthmarks for a reason. And I think, to cover it up, I think that's a bit of a tragedy. But like you said, I think natural makeup is definitely increasing now.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
But yes, Colette, so on to the next question. So this is more about your current role at NBCU. And it's hard to get jobs in these specific media companies, NBCU, ITV. We have ITV in England, and I know you guys have other media platforms as well. What is it like working at NBCU, and what was the process for you to get that job, get that role?
What was the process? Okay, so I'll answer the first part of that question first. So, working at NBCUniversal has been great. I think there's obviously a different type of environment now that we're working from home than when we were in the office. But I think I'm definitely the type of person that likes to be involved all the time. And so I joined the Women's Network and the Black Employee Network, as well as the Young Professionals Network. And so I attend a lot of different events that they put on. Now they're all virtual. I also am a leader on the Women's Network, so I help plan events as well for the whole company, which is definitely nice to do something, meet people outside of my own group that I work in every day, and also just get to experience the NBC culture and community on a greater scale. I love the spontaneity and the events that happen every day at NBCUniversal, and being able to go to lunch and run into a famous person in the elevator and just have it be very casual. And there's many times that I've been standing in the elevator with Al Sharpton or really or Rachel Maddow, and just it's all normal and regular. But yeah, no, I think that part's pretty cool. But my day to day, I feel like it's super fun to be able to, first of all, have my voice be heard. My team is very much open to hearing feedback, no matter what stage of the process you're in, or what ranking you are, what your title is. As long as you're bringing value to the table, I think that is definitely looked well upon. And it's definitely given me the pedestal to grow. I think something else that's really cool about NBCUniversal and ad sales in particular is it's very female. There's a lot of female power.
That's brilliant. Absolutely.
Yeah. All my leaders are female, and I've never had that before. And it's a really cool experience. And yeah, they're always looking for ways to bring others up. And I mean, NBCUniversal isn't perfect when it comes to DE&I, but they're trying to get there, and they've been doing a lot of work over the years to try and get there. They didn't just start after all of the social injustice that happened last year. Like they've been at it for a little bit, so they're putting more rigor behind it, and I think that that's admirable.
And Colette, just explain what E&I is, just for those who maybe.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
DE&I is diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay. Perfect.
But yeah, so definitely one of the cooler places to work. And I think how the other part of your question was how I got there. So I actually started off at NBC when I first graduated college. And I was also working in ad sales at the time. But I wanted to do something a little bit more creative. So I ended up moving over to the agency side, and I was working on Sci-Fi and USA, which are two networks that are within the NBCUniversal umbrella. And I was helping basically plan and launch campaigns, marketing campaigns for new and returning series, which was so fun. To be able to, you know, see episodes of things early and be able to like see the whole process of like the strategy, who is the audience that this is targeting, where are the best places to advertise. And then the coolest thing as, you know, a young adult is seeing your work around the city, and like being able to see billboards and like subway ads and you know, things on TV that you did that is pretty cool. And so my boss at the time, she actually ended up moving over to NBC, and then she asked me to come on board. So that's how I got my current role.
Wow. That's, you know, Colette, honestly, you know, you've done a lot in your short time of living, you know, 29 years, and you've done all of that, and to work for such an amazing company and have your own business. It's really inspirational. And what advice would you give to someone who would like to work in these you know, companies, media companies specifically, such as NBCU, CNN, and you know, various ones, but they're struggling, you know, they're struggling to get opportunities or to truly find out exactly what part of the media they want to work in?
Well, I would say two things. The first is reach out to people, have conversations, stay top of mind. You know, someone once told me people love talking about themselves, which is true. They do. So always reach out and pick someone's brain about how they got to where they got to, and maybe develop a mentorship out of it. Because those are the people who are going to care and who are going to want to see you grow and lift you up. The other thing I would say is look out for rotational programs. There's a lot of rotational programs that these larger media companies have, where you can apply and you can try out different divisions or different types of work within that company to understand what you like and what you don't like. That's probably the best way to dip your toes in without diving, you know, head first into a job that you're not quite sure is a good fit for you. So I would say those two things are probably what people should keep in mind if they are interested in media and entertainment.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, it doesn't have to stop here. Check out our Instagram at _ponder_on_net.
I agree with it to an extent,
and our Twitter page at podcast_ponder. Feel free to follow us for more inspiration,
because obviously you still need to have some form of knowledge to keep you in that position, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would say I believe that is very true, especially in media and entertainment. And like the last two jobs that I've had, and I've only had 3 jobs, actually, honestly, all 3 jobs that I've had in my career have been because of other people.
Wow. So networking is key, and it's about, putting yourself out there and believing in yourself as well, because so much times we think, oh, I'm not good enough for this place, or there's these celebrities working. And I'm sure you can agree with me here, Colette, especially because you work in that kind of environment as well. When you actually meet a celebrity in your work environment, they're actually not just sorry, but they're normal people.
They're,
Being
yeah,
yourself.
we're all just normal people trying to get
Yeah.
by. Like, yeah, and I think I've always looked at it that way because
Mm,
I that's just the way that my brain works. Holding people on pedestals like that is not kind of, I don't really type of mentality. And I think when I interned in LA on a late night show, and I was a forget what they called it, but I was a PA for talent, and I would like help bring them into the green room, and like I would meet them. And I mean, of course, inside I'm like super excited,
yeah.
but I think all they want is to be treated like regular people, you know?
Absolutely. When you and see what they talk about on their social media platforms, a lot of them are like, I just want a normal life. I'm a normal person. I do shopping. I look after my family. It's very, very normal. Could you see yourself in Hollywood?
Living there or being
Um,
famous?
so working in that
Environment?
environment, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to, when I first graduated college, I wanted to work in Los Angeles, and I wanted to live in LA, and um, I wanted to be on sets and doing production work.
Yes.
But I think what I realized is I can have both. I can have everything that I want, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to just be in one place. Like, I love New York so much, and but I also hate the cold, and I love the islands and traveling to LA, and I can do all of that now because all you need is a laptop and a connection.
Absolutely. You know what? Those are the tools, a laptop and a connection. That
Yeah,
is so true, Colette. We always look
yeah,
at these things as we don't have access to it, but actually, if we just simplify things and break it down, we actually think, you know what? Why can't I? Why can't it be me? And
yeah.
Colette, you're so right. Like sometimes we can put ourselves in these boxes and say, oh, if I do this, okay, say for example, if I do graphic design, it means that I can't do acting in Los Angeles, for example. But actually, why can't you do both? As long as obviously, you're good at both trades, and you put your effort in both of them and not one slacking. Why can't you do both? Why can't you be a podcaster, or like yourself in marketing, doing
Yeah.
fashion as well? Because I could imagine with yourself, you're doing in your job at NBCU, you're also in fashion as well. And I mean, would you say they're different industries?
I mean, yeah, they are different industries, and um, honestly, I don't have a fashion background. I can't claim to be, you know, like a professional in fashion, and I wouldn't claim that. I have a good eye. I know it looks good, and I saw a problem that needed to be solved.
Yes.
And I think that that's all that someone really needs. And
Key.
honestly, I talk about this with Francesca all the time, my founder, co-founder.
Co-founder.
And yeah. And I lost track of what I was going to say.
You were saying, what did you say? You're talking about
I remember. So I always talk to her about like the fact that she was in healthcare tech and I was in marketing. And it's probably better seeing a problem as a consumer and not someone within a certain industry, because a lot of times when you're in a certain industry, you come with these biases and these blinders on that you're like, this is the only way that this can work. This is like the way that it's going to have to be forever. When you can come in with a different perspective and see things with a different eye, then you can go into any industry, really. It just takes, some time of, dedicated learning, speaking to the right people, bringing the right people on board, and just having those open lines of communication.
Absolutely. And I remember speaking to someone yesterday, and the person was saying to me that you don't actually have to be an expert in everything. And actually, you can't be an expert in everything. But as long as you have enough knowledge and openness to learn more, you can do what you want. You can achieve what you want to achieve, and upskilling yourself, constantly. Obviously, at a place that you're comfortable with. But yeah, I think, knowing your craft, and also what you said in terms of seeing an issue and knowing the need of it, meeting the need. I think when you look at all of the people who are successful, that's really all they did. If you break it down, they saw a lack and they met the need.
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly. But yes, thank you, Colette. What advice would you give to women to overcome the stumbling blocks that may come their way in following after their passion, or starting up their business?
I think one of the things that has helped me is support and people that share your same fire and your same energy. If you surround yourself with people that are hard workers, determined, believe in you, you're going to be a hard worker, determined, and believe in yourself.
Yes.
I wholeheartedly believe that when I'm surrounded by, people who are doubting themselves or not sure, or Debbie Downers is what we call it. It's a bad environment for me, because I take in the energy around me. And I would give that advice to any woman, to just go after what they want and surround themselves with people who think that they can do that.
Absolutely. And there's a Jamaican saying, and you would know it, show me your company and I'll tell you who you are. Have you heard of that, Colette?
Yeah,
of course. Yeah. It's so, no man is an island, so we need each other, and it's about needing the right people. I've been in situations where I've been in friendship groups where it hasn't always been nurturing for myself in terms of what I want to do, constantly comparing myself or constantly needing that reassurance. So I agree with that, Colette, absolutely. And what would you tell your younger Colette? What would you tell her? It can be about anything.
Anything you want to do, start sooner. I used to put a lot of roadblocks in my way, including for PS Collective. I've for years have been saying, like, I want to start something in fashion. And I kind of drag my feet. What are other people going to think? How am I going to get this done with no money? I am not a coder or an expert. I can't do this on my own. Constantly putting roadblocks in the way. And I mean, even today, like, I go through, what is the word? I have these moments of imposter syndrome where I feel like I'm not, who am I to create this business and who is going to buy from me? But like, I think if I could tell myself anything when I was younger, it would be to not to stop, to always push and like start things that I want to start. And I go back to this because I remember as a young person, I always had all of these different ideas of things that I wanted to do or start. And in middle school, I wanted to start a a bakery or like out of my house. I wanted to sell like goods because I loved baking. And I taught myself how to code. I created a website, which was part of the fun. Set everything up, and then reached out to my friend who lived in my neighborhood and asked if she would do it with me. And she said, "No, Colette, it's a bad idea. No one's going to want to buy baked goods from a kid in their house. Like, you need permits." And she just put up all these blocks for me that in my head, I was like, oh, you're right. Like, I can't do it. Lo and behold, people are doing it all over the place now, selling goods from their homes. And, I think I easily could have done it had I not tried to get other people to come into it with me. Sometimes you just got to start things on your own and be your own hype person.
That is so true, Colette. And not everyone will understand that vision, your vision, until they see other people doing it or until they see the successes from it. And then the quote that I want to read out whilst we're on here. I mean, have you watched Coach Carter? Have you watched it? With Samuel L. Jackson? Oh my gosh, Colette, you have to watch it. You have to watch that. Let me read out the quote. So the quote says, some people know it even outside of Coach Carter, but I only know it through that. But it says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
I love that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do.
It just came to my mind when we were speaking what we were speaking, because I think so much people, when they give certain advice or, they doubt us, I think it's because of their fears as well of what maybe they feel they can't do. So they project it on us.
Yeah.
But I love that, Colette. So what was it again, to start things sooner that you've always wanted to do? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think going along with that, it would be, to not need permission from other people to do what I want to or have to do.
Absolutely. I mean, why do you think we kind of crave for permission from others?
Well, it goes into what you were just saying, fear.
Yeah.
I think it gives us either the courage we need or someone to blame.
Wow, that's powerful. Wow. Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Colette. Is there anything you'd like to leave with us? A word of inspiration, wisdom, anything about your business?
I think one of the things that I like to live by is to celebrate the small things. I think we don't do that enough. And especially, whether it's someone trying to find a job or it's someone who's starting a company or you're just trying to get up the courage to do something, I think looking at it as little steps forward or little wins and celebrating those and really giving yourself the courage you need and the support that you need, rather than being harsh on yourself, is definitely something that I would say is a heightened in women for some reason.
Yes.
And so I think just learning how to celebrate the small things. Like, I think some of the things that I was in a meditation class once, and I never forgot this because I sometimes am very impatient. And I get very angry with small things that are out of my control. So he was talking about, being late on the subway to work. You could either get upset or you could just acknowledge the fact that you're going to be late and deal with it. You know, it happens to everybody. It's fine. It's not going to be the end of the world. But you getting angry is only exerting energy, bad energy, that isn't purposeful. There's no need for it. And so, you know, just embrace it. Take those things that life throws at you and try and make lemonade out of lemons.
I love that. Yes, absolutely, Colette. And, you know, I agree with you there. I think sometimes we can go so far in our lives and achieve all these great things, but we never celebrate any of it. And we just constantly are in this, you know, cycle of just working hard, achieving, but not actually taking a step back and reflecting, oh my gosh, I've done that. I always wanted to do that and I've done it, but I've missed it because I didn't even take the time to just stop and be like, well done, you know.
Yeah.
So yes, Colette. Well, on that note, thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you for having me on.
Yes. So guys, you can reach Colette on her handles. What was your handles again, Colette, if you just want to leave us with that?
Yeah, PS Collective NYC.
Great. So the guys, you have to check that out, you know, and we all need to become more comfortable and confident in ourselves. Who are you not to be the beautiful, unique person that you were made to be? So yes, on that note, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening to today's podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, it doesn't have to stop here. Check out our Instagram at _ponder on that with Saffron, and our Twitter page at podcast_ponder. Feel free to follow us for more inspiration and goodness.